What we strive for is the feeling of being in control, especially when things in our lives are not exactly under our influence. We hear over and over again that the remedy to this lies in playing the long game. But I believe it's not just about the gruesome grind towards some remote quests. Enjoying the little things makes our main storyline richer. In the past, I was under the illusion of thinking that reaching one's goals meant adopting the traditional martyr's path. All work, no play, and sure, you'll get there one day. Fast forward a few grindy chapters of my life, and my perception of what it means to strive for the betterment has evolved. It shouldn't necessitate sacrificing joy, nor should it induce the feeling of guilt when responsibly doing pleasureful activities. A well-timed power-up, a moment of joy, it's not just okay, it's a must. It's seeing life as more than a permadeath survival playthrough. I don't know about you, but when I strive to step out of my comfort zone from time to time, I feel a form of tension. Sometimes it's barely noticeable, but other times it's a weight in my chest, urging me to take the easy path or to procrastinate on the obvious pain point. It's something profoundly human, but still possible to handle, although harder when grinding the 9-to-5 dungeon. After logging out of work, booting up what was supposed to be the main storyline of my life often took me a while. 8 hours of gold mining, paired with a commute, would leave my mana reserves drained like clockwork. At times when I managed to pull through, it felt like unlocking a rare achievement, a display of inhuman act of might, a quiet moment to be proud of. The problem is that I don't believe we were designed to be deeply focused for more than a couple of hours a day. The loss of attention to detail is inevitable. It compounds with each hour clocked in. Staying focused by choice is difficult and often requires a lot of patience, let alone after 8 hours under a contract. This is why I don't shy away from using tricks, especially those capable of buffing me through the after-hours slog. As a video editor, by gods, I often work on really mundane footage. Sometimes I joked it would take editing the Lord of the Rings trilogy not to find the process of reviewing footage utterly boring. But years ago, I stumbled upon the Pomodoro Technique. It was a godsend when I had to sift through hours of clips in search of something useful. It transformed my workflow, making the mundane manageable. For those who don't know, the Pomodoro Technique is a cornerstone of time management in the productivity realm. Its usage involves setting a timer based on 3 kinds of intervals. One for focused questing, one for a short break, and the other for taking a longer break. Imagine your brain is like a character with limited stamina or mana. To put it bluntly, those 5 minutes of break after giving your best for 25 minutes serve as a well-earned respite, and your huffing and puffing brain appreciates it the most. It's a scheduled miniature miracle, a saving grace. It allows you to keep on keeping on while maintaining the quality of your output. When we set the timer, we simply commit to tackling quests, big or small. If the task at hand is slightly above our current abilities, the break allows our brain to refocus and clear the mental trash can. When the task is below our skill level but it still needs to be done, it prevents us from drifting away to more interesting thoughts. It keeps us on course for the design focus interval. After a few sessions, we take a longer break for perspective and refreshment. Rinse and repeat. Its beauty lies in its flexibility. You can adjust the lengths of your work and break periods, as long as you maintain a focus-break ratio, similar to the default 25-to-5. It's to ensure the time blocked for work is still predominantly dedicated to productivity. If you manage to enter a flow state, you might choose to ignore the break altogether, only opting for it when you feel your thoughts starting to drift. This allows you to min-max your DPS during periods of intense deep focus. I tested a handful of Pomodoro timer apps, and my go-to is Pomotroid. It's straightforward, customizable, and features assignable hotkeys, quietly sitting in your taskbar, counting down the session's timer. I tried mobile app timers, but due to their separation from my workflow, I found they were pulling me out of deep focus. On the other hand, a desktop timer is like having a well-designed dynamic HUD. It's there when you need it and never pulls you out of the game. I always searched for something to do during those short breaks. It's needed to be light, non-intrusive, and something to keep the XP flowing without yanking me out of the zone. Standing up and doing some light stretches is always beneficial, but with the traditional Pomodoro generating numerous 5-minute breaks, a secondary activity needed to be found. It had to be something constant and not causing me to think about real-world stuff, which is why social media is an especially bad choice for this purpose. We don't want our focus time to be sabotaged by processing the 5-minute Reddit scroll we just had on break. So finally a question arises. Where does Rimworld fit into this productivity strategy? Well, in my opinion, if used correctly, I found Rimworld to be an S-tier activity to recharge mana reserves between deep focus sessions. When I'm grinding through my free time quests, I fire up the game, load my save, set my Pomodoro timer, and let the game run in the background. The positive mood boost I get from hearing my pawns go about their business while I go about mine is pure gold. On days when motivation is scarce, the game might serve you as a beacon of productivity. When it's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up and I don't feel like ticking off any boxes, I just boot up Rimworld, and it's an impulse for greater things. By now, my brain associates the sounds of Rimworld with being in a state of perpetual productivity, like a Pavlovian dog. After a little moment of watching my pawn terrarium work its 3 letters off, it gets me thinking, well, I might get to work as well. It works not only when I do important things, but it works for whatever needs to be done, be it some home chores, YouTube stuff, writing, or even producing music, of all things.
I told you it's not ready yet.
Honey, just show it to me.
Over the years, I've looked for something to serve this very purpose, and tried multiple games to fulfill this role. I never found anything that was okay when left to its own devices. Games I tried, despite being amazing in their own right, demanded frantic clicking, undivided attention, or constant manual scheduling of things, or else they would not progress in any way. I needed a game just to be there, one that wouldn't pressure me into anything. It had to be my faithful digital companion, something to give me a tiny feeling of novelty on my break from the grind. And this is how Rimworld stood out in its role. It's the game that can run in the background for hours, advancing in its own realm, while I advance in mine. So how does it work? The key is to relax and slow down the gameplay, so it won't constantly nag you with minutiae. The goal is to moderate the game's pace, reducing its demands on your attention. Getting your base up and running will require a setup session, fair enough, but once it's operational, you can check in every Pomodoro break, issue a couple of orders, and then get back to your business. In case of an emergency, it will just auto-pause, preventing disasters from unfolding. Making use of this game in such a way requires leaning towards a more zen playstyle. That's where the time control mod is a game changer. With this mod, it doesn't take a whole in-game day for a pawn to go to the edge of the map and back, and conversely, it takes longer to craft or build things. Meaning, things don't get done in an instant anymore. Stuff now takes time, just like it does in the real world. It's the essential mod for this playstyle, making Rimworld not just a game, but a productivity companion. The downside of using Rimworld to get out of the roots is the need to be mindful and not let the game hijack your productivity. This is because Rimworld is an immensely engaging game at its core. To prevent it from raiding your productivity, it's essential to establish boundaries. If you have trouble managing this with the Pomodoro Technique, there's an amazing application called Cold Turkey. You can use it to set a time limit for the use of any game, webpage, or application through allowance settings. Ideally, the allowance should reflect the focus to break ratio of the Pomodoro Technique. For instance, you could set it to 10 or 12 minutes of allowance per hour, where effectively you should self-manage to keep the break around 10 minutes to uphold the ratio. This ensures that you maintain a balanced approach to productivity and recreation, aligning your game or application use with the principles of the Pomodoro Technique. After the allowance runs out, Cold Turkey will minimize your game and prevent it from maximizing until the start of the next time block, and the app is relentless in its effort to keep it minimized. You can set up notifications informing you of how much time you have left in your current block. This ensures that the game enhances your productivity rather than impeding it. Granted, it requires some initial setup, a couple of mods, and specific settings to be applied, but consider it as a small investment for a major boost in productivity. To morph Rimworld into a productivity ally and not just another game vying for your attention. A few key tactics are essential. With their help, I can leave the game running mostly on autopilot. Occasionally, I make minor interventions or tweaks. 1. Use the time control mod. This mod alters the pace at which your pawns accomplish tasks. Instead of pawns only doing a few things per day in a rapid succession, for a change, they get stuff done in what counts as their actual day. The in-game clock stretches, making tasks like building or crafting longer, but in return, it supercharges their mobility. They zip around at their usual speed, but their day unfolds more slowly, enabling you to keep tabs on things both in-game and giving you ample time to step up IRL. It dramatically reduces your need to constantly issue commands. I set my day length multiplier to around 400%, a sweet spot where timed tasks take 4 times longer, but the progress remains steady and controllable between periods of focus and breaks. Do note that the mod has been abandoned, but it works perfectly fine on 1.5, which is the version I play. 2. Opt for chillaxed gameplay. The last thing you want is to set up the game so it cries for your attention every 5 minutes. To avoid turning Rimworld into a focus time thief, you'll need to dial down the game's intensity. For Rimworld to be your accountability partner, you'll need to make adjustments to some core elements of the gameplay. Disabling mechanoids and insects will prevent overdrawn combat scenarios. Setting initial resources to higher levels will increase the lifespan of the map you spawn on, ensuring a more relaxed and longer experience. I generally stay away from raiding other settlements. In our case, it's a time sink that demands too much attention. For productivity enhancement, Rimworld is just fine as a tower defense base building sim, and not another intense RTS. 3. Choose easy to defend maps. Choosing a mountainous terrain offers not just visual pleasure, but also tactical benefits. Carving your base into a hillside minimizes the time and resources spent on fortifications against raids. While they still present a challenge, they are not so intense as to hijack your focus from real-world tasks. Just like in a good story, without an ever-looming threat, your pawns' lives will feel devoid of a driving plot.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
It's a delicate balance. The raids should be engaging enough to propel your base narrative forward without overwhelming real-life productivity. This approach keeps the essence of Rimworld intact. It's about the art of base management, where the thrill of survival and progress coexists with your real-world quests. 4. Mod for smooth sailing. Streamline your Rimworld experience with mods. It means to aim for mods that cut down the busywork to keep your attention on your main quest. Deconstruct conduits lets you cut down time on cable management. Custom prisoner interactions is the autopilot for your colony's growth, handling the switch from prisoner to colonist without constant check-ins. Deconstruct first prioritizes deconstruction before building, as it should be by default. You can find the Steam mod collection in the description. 5. Automate stuff. Optimize and automate your base for self-sufficiency and less clickage. Aim to minimize the need for your colonist foot travel. Keep your hauling animals out of living spaces, but maintain a compact dump zone near your storage. Set crafting stuff to until you have X number of things of targeted quality and hit points, so the worn out clothes and equipment would be replaced. Set a limit on sculpture and food production. This helps against wasting time and resources. 6. Autopause. Set autopause to any threat. This is because you don't want to return to a burning base after doing a solid workout. This small feature is the perfect balance keeper, ensuring that your in-game world doesn't spiral out of control when you're focusing on real-world quests. 7. Skip most of the DLCs. While it's an enticing and fun add-on, the Biotech DLC is introducing way too much micromanagement, where our goal is to have streamlined gaming experience. Royalty and Ideology DLC gives just the right amount of content for our purpose, without making Rimworld into a micromanagement sim. It is important to embrace the step-by-step nature of gradually maximizing the productivity of the time we have at our disposal. When I began the adventure of doing something meaningful with my life, there were days when I felt stuck in a deep rut. At some point, I started to have 45-minute Rimworld sessions, followed by just 15 minutes of focused work. While this doesn't sound overly productive, as 15 minutes out of 60 means I was reaching an hourly productivity rate of 25%. After that, I started to rebalance time allocation until I got to 5 to 10 minutes an hour of Rimworld, followed by about 50 minutes of deep work. It shows how sometimes we just need a little push to get things going, and Rimworld is often the nudge I need to get on with it. Sometimes it's just about starting the engine, and often Rimworld is the spark. When you begin, you might feel like the initial 25% of productivity per hour isn't much, but 25% is infinitely more than zero. If you're intrigued by the fusion of productivity and gaming, consider building this tiny community ground up with a subscribe and a thumbs up, because sure as hell I need both. It will be a sign to keep the videos coming, and I have plenty ideas to talk about. So tell me, what other game cultivates a productive mindset? Or perhaps there's something I've missed in this one. Your engagement will fuel this channel, much like the swish of diligent pawns passing by will enhance your productivity. Remember, just like managing a successful Rimworld colony is made of tending to the details, every small engagement with this video counts as building something remarkable. Until next time, have a good one.